we will meet there. Day has passed like a hurricane to my heart, to the far away. See the lights on the other side. I'm going to get there and hope we will meet there.
All right. Let's take our seats. Welcome, everybody. How's it going? I'm your host, Dan, and I've got my buddy John Lovell here with me. If you guys don't know who John Lovell is, he's a tactical instructor. He's a YouTuber. He's a father. He's a Army Ranger. Has some incredibly awesome stories that we're going to share today, and we're going to learn a lot about him. And so go ahead and talk to everybody about yourself.
Hey guys, I am me. I know that was brilliant already. It's like, really, that's what you led with? Yep, I'm me. Fun story of, I guess it's not fun, but it's relevant. Dan gave me one of my very first shout outs. So Dan, thanks, man. Back when my mom's Sunday school was following me, and that's about it. Had like 8 followers.
How did we even get connected?
I don't know.
remember.
We were both living in the same place.
Yeah,
but,
you live 5 minutes down the road from me, and I don't remember how you and I even met.
I don't know. Were you looking into guns or something? Because I was a tactical instructor in that area.
I mean, I
at the
love
time.
guns always, but I can't remember how you and I got involved. Like, I just remember you inviting me over to your house so we could sit down, and you and your child and your wife were very nice to me, and we sat down, and I was like, I know about YouTube. I've got this thing figured out.
But you do, man. You're about to crush 1 million. So come on, guys, share so that
means nothing.
We're all invested in it now. You're so close.
I'm excited to hit 1 million, but what's really blown me away is the incredible amount of success that you've had, especially as a newer channel on a gun-free platform, essentially. YouTube's really pushing hard right now to nip guns in the butt, and I'm sure you've seen some of the struggles with that.
Dude, yeah, for sure. They hide us in their algorithm changes and demonetize, doing anything they can to make sure that we don't grow in any popularity. But
Yeah.
I think the channel's had a lot of success because, one, we're just kind of normal people. The whole concept of warrior poet is the idea of like, okay, yeah, we're aspiring to grow in our skill level, our ability to protect others. In effect, we're dangerous. We're lethal. We're good at protecting. So there's the warrior aspect, but then the poet is like, but we're not flying off the handle. We're just trying to be good people. Hey, be good dads or husbands or college students or whatever. We're warrior poet, and so it's kind of a metaphor. Don't read. I'm not going to break out into Shakespeare and Henry V right here. Though that would be fun. Anyway, so warrior poet kind of ethos, and that resonates with a lot of people. So that's one thing, but it's kind of like a more sane, real approach to guns. We have a lot of fun on the channel, so lots of funny videos.
Very much so, especially with a lot of newer content that you've been putting out.
So yeah, it's pretty fun stuff. Lots of run and gun videos and stuff where I'm giving away free instruction on concealed carry and room clearing and all kinds of stuff. So there's a wealth of information. It's fun, and I think it's disarming in the whole political debate on guns and stuff.
Very much
it gives
so.
a little bit of a sobering image of like, oh, they're just real dudes, and yeah, they like firearms, but they're
We like guns and we like sand.
that's right.
Have you seen that? It's like a photo of this like big burly dude
Yeah.
holding up a gun and a bag of sand, and he's like, "We like guns and we like sand. We like the sound that guns make, and we like the way the sand feels." Real quick before we get any further, I want to let everybody know the rules as far as if you have any questions, we will be answering them via Super Chat. So if you have a question, feel free to ask via Super Chat. Again, all of his information will be linked in below. No, not his personal information, but like his Instagram, his YouTube, his website. He does tactical training around the U.S.
Yeah.
You travel from state to state depending on someone's personal needs, I guess, whether it be like who do you do most of your training for now?
Yeah, so my full-time job is...
Yeah, let's talk about this.
I teach firearms and tactics around the country. So that's what I do. Pistol classes, whether it's concealed carry for responsible armed citizens or whether I'm teaching cops or hired by a SWAT team or military guys, whatever. I teach firearm stuff and also teach some tactics stuff. That's kind of my old wheelhouse. So when I'm not doing that, I am moonlighting as a wannabe YouTube micro-celebrity. So I say that tongue in cheek. That's anyway. So yeah.
Sorry, my dog is chewing on this bone in here.
Your dog is awesome.
He's an adorable dog, but
Come on, screwing up the video, dog.
he's a good dog, but he got that new treat. So apologize for the
I
interruption.
get it.
Yeah, what's really weird is. Hopefully you won't take any offense to this because
I'm not.
It's
Don't worry about
100%,
offending me. I'm
100%
consider my background in the world I live in, but I think you're in a desire to show deference. Anyway.
Yeah.
Have at it, man. You're not gonna offend.
Oh, when I first met you, I was thinking to myself, I was like, this is the most calm, reserved, very intelligent and well-spoken individual that could potentially kill everybody in the room. I hope that's such a weird thing to say, right? In a good way, like those who deserve it, I guess, or like, if some bad guy, if a bad guy broke in right now, I'd be like, get him, John. I'm good. I'll be over here if you need me,
I would insist upon it.
Yeah, I'd be like, John's got this, Go take your pick of whatever. I'm sure you've got 3 of them within reach of you right now.
2.
Anyway.
Yeah, 2 guns,
But,
right?
I don't think, like, you how tall are you? You're about my height, right?
5'9".
5'9". Yeah, you and I are close in height.
Yeah.
So we're certainly not giants by any sense of the word.
No.
And you're not some steroid muscle freak that I think a lot of people picture. I mean, I saw the photo of you back when you were in the military, and you were very, like, maybe it was the uniform, but you look very big.
Yeah, and so some of them, like there was one I posted with Winter Surge, and I'm basically in the foothills of the Himalayan mountains. We were living at 9,000 feet elevation. They're like, dude, you look jacked. I'm like, I'm wearing 12 jackets there. Like, easy. But so I had about 10 pounds more of muscle on me, but a lot of the guys who, get out of special operations, they get big afterwards. It's really hard to actually have any size when you're in special operations because, you beef up a little bit when you're in garrison. That's CONUS in the States. Then you go overseas and we'll be over in theater for 3-4 months or something, and you're doing continuous combat operations back to back to back to back. You're living off MREs, hiking up and down mountains and running missions, and you come back an emaciated version of yourself. So you're always yo-yoing and weight. You never have that. And a lot of it, military fitness, it doesn't reward the guy with the massive bench press. Like in a world of guns, what good is your bench press? Like, oh, wow, that's real impressive. You can bench 800 pounds. I will shoot you in the face. And you're just like, great job being really, really, really strong. It's a world of guns. My power is my guns.
It's an equalizer.
It's an equalizer. And so if that's my power, and that's not to say, hey, don't have power, because power can be really helpful when I have to go hands-on with a terror or a bad guy or something. You're able to overwhelm. Now, most of them have been living off rice and beans, and so even as you are right now, you'd feel like Superman. You could pick them up and pin them against a wall because they're like Haji Mandress. I mean, it's just like there's nothing there. It's just kind of like squeeze and pop. And you got the adrenaline jacked up too if you wanted to, but I'm just saying it didn't take a whole ton of power. Now, what the fitness that the military or special operations does reward is endurance and agility. Endurance is everything. So guys who are preparing for the military, quit powerlifting. What good will that do? You need to be able to rock out your PT test. I'm about to do a video on YouTube on this, but you need to rock out your PT test, max that junk, and you need to be able to just go forever. Put a big backpack on your back and just go for days. Be able to power walk and just climb mountains, walk 20 miles like it's no sweat, run 10 miles. And at the end of it, your body feels pretty fresh if you're having a good. That endurance is everything. The common size weight for your average special operations operator is about 5'9", 165, 170 pounds.
What you're saying is I could make it.
That's exactly what I'm
I
saying.
could not make that.
We're going into training right now.
Right now, today.
You're going in?
We're skipping the whole signing up process.
Yeah, we're done now. So you guys,
After I walk out of here, 2 guys with chloroform and a mask will knock me out, and I'll wake up somewhere in Bosnia training.
We're starting now.
Yeah, oh God. Yeah, but I think that's a common misconception because a lot of these guys that you see, they're covered head to toe in tattoos, and they've got these super big beards, and they're, everyone. It's weird that the thought process of what people think a special forces, I'm trying to think of the word here, soldier, what individual would look like, versus you, a clean cut, well spoken. You don't use harsh language very often.
Well, and I'm more of an anomaly in a lot of different cases.
I'm sure.
Evidenced by the fact I just said anomaly and evidenced by.
Those are big words.
I brought those out for you. No, but when I got out of the military, I just nerded out where I read tons and tons of books. I went into just hyper study mode for years. And reading a lot of old stuff too, just kind of beefed up a vocabulary and shrunk the body some. But a lot of guys will get out and they'll kind of rebel against what they were dealing with. And if they were forced to shave in the military, or even in garrison, they grow the big beard. If they weren't allowed to have face tats, they're like, give me a spider web everything. But man, it's really
no regrets.
I love that tattoo. That's awesome.
Well, I thought that certain special units got to have beards.
Yeah, and it depended as well on context. Some of them could, some of them couldn't. If you're doing more clandestine operations overseas where you wanted to blend in with an indigenous, the idea was to grow a beard.
Because it was like a man thing, right? That's what the men did over there.
Sure.
They
and
beards.
Just a blank face versus a bearded face, the blank face jumped out more. Now,
very much so.
An American trying to dress like a Middle Easterner in the Middle East, no matter what you do, you jump out.
Right.
Anyway, then that's the idea. So there was different combat, tours that I went on where we got furrier than others. Rangers typically weren't getting all scruffied out.
So just to clear some things up, so we have a better understanding here. Maybe explain what a ranger's job is and more or less what special forces are.
Sure.
Because I don't think anybody has a really good understanding of that. They just think as like, okay, well, it's okay. So we got a bunch of people we need to kill. We'll see you there, kind of deal. Like, yeah, drop them, ground and pound, or whatever you guys say. I don't know.
Since your training starts right after this podcast,
I have to learn some things.
Where you'll learn. That's awesome. Sure. So, special forces is a branch of the military, just like Army is a branch, Navy is a branch, Coast Guard, Air Force are branches, right? Now, the best from all the branches, they kind of take their, the best from the Army is their Rangers. The best from the Navy is their SEALs. And when I say best, I mean kind of like door kicking, assault, whatever, generally. So, for instance, somebody may point to the PJs for the Air Force, which would be one vein. That's a special operations vein of Air Force. They're pararescue guys. Amazing. And they're not really door kickers. I've trained a bunch of PJs. They're really, really cool dudes, but they're not assault team. Rangers is an assault force. It's the premier raid force in the United States. So if you want to just aggressively take a city, send in a bunch of angry Rangers. Just level no
yeah just it'll like
so really one of my expertise and really Rangers in general, historically airfield seizures type stuff, but really the whole time I was in room clearing, taking down cities and whatnot like that. So going after high value targets and working in tandem with other special operations units. So anyway, that's the difference between special operations, kind of the best door kickers generally from all the different branches of military. Special forces, it's its own branch, and it's more interested in raising up a local militia and training indigenous. Now, they also have their A-teams that are door kickers as
really?
well.
So they go in and they train the locals to help fight against?
Yes.
That is really cool.
Yeah. So, but don't think like they're not kicking in doors, clearing rooms like angry Rangers or SEALs necessarily. Special Forces has that element, but in general, the purpose of Special Forces is when it,
that is cool.
It's.
I mean, from an outside perspective, I'm sure if I was there, I'd be like, yeah, no, this sucks. But
no, I mean, it's the best time you'll never want to do again.
Right. You go back and it's like college. Like, I don't want to go back to college ever. But I remember some great times in college. I'm not comparing the military to college, but I'm saying that
in that one way, it is like college.
That's the only way. But besides that, and there's a lot of alcohol involved, and you're in downtimes, I'm sure.
Yeah, sure. No sweat.
Yeah,
that's good.
Gosh, that is, I can't imagine some of the things that you saw and did over there that were so life changing. How does that affect the psyche?
Man, it's probably more subconscious than anything now. I guess conscious as well, but it's hard to, see yourself. I'm just me, and I don't really think about any of it anymore. Really, as weird as it sounds, it seems like all that stuff was a movie I once watched, a dream I once had. It's so compartmentalized that I don't walk around thinking about military. I don't really even talk about it unless it has a relevant speaking point for someone. Like you ask me a question, or somebody's interested in something, or I'm teaching a class and it has some application where somebody asks something about gunfighting, and I'll remember something, and so I'll share from experience. But other than that, I'm not walking around thinking about military a lot, So,
sorry, I had to take care of some negligence in chat.
No sweat. Oh, someone got bounced.
Yeah.
Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy.
Yeah, he should be. He was just spouting some crap, and that was causing a disturbance for other people, but.
Was it about what I was saying?
No, not about you. It's about a friend of mine. He was anyway,
That's right.
Don't give him the attention that he deserves. What was I saying? So I think a lot of memories are like that, right? Like anything that you think that I can't remember what I did yesterday perfectly in detail. It's kind of like a movie I once watched.
Yeah.
So the fact that you're able to separate that with other memories, like it's cool that you can compartmentalize that the same way you would with other memories. And I think a lot of people have trouble doing that. So is there any like special training or thought process that you did when you were overseas, like to help you through that?
No, I don't know how well the military does with kind of preparing you for separation from the military. So each kind of veteran has to find their own place. And I've, read books on this. I've talked with a lot of different vets. I think a lot of what's labeled as post-traumatic stress disorder is really just veterans not being able to find a new objective, to find a new place in life, to find a new sense of community, a sense of belonging, a new sense of identity. When you're trained of like, hey, who I am is someone who goes and, hunts terrorists. All of a sudden you're not hunting terrorists. Well, that's who I am. Who am I now?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you have to integrate into a different culture, civilian context, where people don't have your experiences. They don't see the world like you do. They see a very, very different world where nobody's tried to hunt and kill them. They haven't seen some of the travesties. They haven't seen how the rest of the world lives, especially with third world countries. They don't know what true pain or true hunger or true sleep deprivation or true thirst is. They have no context of that. And so what it is a lot of it can leave you, it's like going through the greatest life appreciation school ever. Anyway, I felt like I was able to really reintegrate in and find a new mission kind of stuff. And I think that was more helpful in everything than just, is that?
No, that makes a lot of sense. And I think you kind of briefly touched on something that I think is important, but society has this weird double standard of our soldiers. They expect you to go over there and do all of that and just be in the shit fest for however long, and then for you to come back and just be like, all right, cool, get a job at Home Depot or go back to normal, Yeah. And I don't think there's enough done, at least in this community or in the U.S. in general, to help normalize, especially with a lot of soldiers coming back. You served during a very hard time.
Yeah, but even so, I look at like when I see some, old crusty vet wearing a Vietnam hat, I'm kind of like, whoa, dude.
Well, yeah, that was some really like, shit show.
Yeah, I'm like, you fought a harder war, and when you came back, everyone hated you.
Yeah.
So
that's got to be probably, like, even during World War II, which was just an absolutely terrible war.
Yeah.
We lost an insane amount of people.
Yep.
An insane amount of U.S. soldiers died in World War II. But when they came home, they were heroes.
Right.
When people returned from, my uncle served in the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
And when he returned, he got spat on.
Yeah.
People
Terrible.
called him baby killers.
Yep.
And can you imagine, like, you're doing what you think is the best thing you can for your country, regardless of what anybody else thinks. You think it's the best thing for your country. That's what you stand up for. It's what you believe in.
That and you didn't decide to go to that war.
Right. That was because that
were
was
drafted, possibly.
Yeah. 100%. So you go over there, you go through the whole shit show, and somehow he was a helicopter pilot, which I think on average was like a 7-minute lifespan or something like. It was something ridiculous. He told me the statistics about it a long time ago. He came back and had all that shit, and it was just like, wow, how much worse could the scenario get?
Yeah. Yeah, my respect goes to those guys because that's intense. And mainly, not just because the crap you go for, it's how do you integrate back into a country that is not only not grateful, but is hateful toward you. Of like, that would that would rip me in two.
It would ruin everything that you've done, almost.
Right. Right now it's in vogue if everyone thanks the troops for their service and whatnot, and this may be unpopular, I don't know, but now it's kind of like, okay, it was unpopular to be a soldier in Vietnam, now it's popular to be a soldier. It used to be, you'd thank cops, and now cops are mud, and there's so much propaganda, surrounding cops. Cops are usually jerks to you when you're jerks to them first.
100%.
And when you're cool to cops, generally cops are cool. And then there's some cops that are just always terrible, and they suck at life, and they suck at being a cop, and they need to get fired and do something else where people aren't around. Anyway, like, they're just worthless
100%.
Human beings. And so if you've
100%.
encountered those cops, you know it. But on the whole, cops, I work with cops for a living. Some of my favorite students, and I train a ton of cops. They're cool, good, loyal, very loyal. That's probably the top virtue of a cop, loyalty. Anyway, and if you ever want to know how to make a cop like you, quote Super Troopers. Done. They'll like you immediately. Just quote the movie Super Troopers, and whatever tough guy facade they have, they'll immediately like you. Boom, done.
Was I going too fast, Meow? Have you seen the new one yet, by the way?
Ah, man, I walked out of it.
What?
I did.
No
I wasn't
way.
in the mood for it.
No way.
All right, the opening scene with the whole camper thing was so dumb.
I hated it. I hated that
Okay,
part.
you hated it, and then it got really good?
You walked out before that? Before that
so
even ended?
he had just woken up at the construction site, and I just felt like we really wanted to go see Avengers again.
Oh,
and
so it's kind of like one of those you're like,
I was looking for an excuse to go see Infinity War.
Gotcha.
And I wasn't in the mood for that.
If you make it past that and get into like the meat of the movie, it's so maybe an unpopular opinion. I think it's better than the first one.
Holy cow! Well, I really like the first one
is
a lot.
Pulp Fiction classic, right?
Okay, yeah.
The second one is like the perfect mixture of callbacks and like character development. It's perfect. I think you'll like it.
All right.
If you go there with the sole purpose of seeing that, not Infinity War again, then you'll like that.
I'm gonna go watch it on your request.
Yeah.
If I don't like it, I'm gonna become your biggest new troll. You're gonna have to bounce me from your live feeds.
Ethan says, "I'm glad you found your groove back stateside. Thank you for your service." So.
Sure thing. Hey, no sweat, Ethan. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, no, you're right though about the whole ups and downs. Like right now, it's cool to thank your servicemen, and it's cool to hate on cops. That's the social norm right now.
Right.
And I think those probably either move, with each other, in tangent with each other, or they're their own separate entities that will eventually. We might find ourselves in a conflict here in a couple of years where people are like, fuck the soldiers, the same thing with Vietnam.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
I'm hoping that the whole shit on cops thing eventually comes back up. I'm hoping that's no longer cool here in a little bit because I have broken the law a good bit. I speed. I speed. It's probably my worst habit. I can't stop. I've been pulled over a lot, Every single time, whether or not I've gotten a ticket, the officer has been very nice and respectful to me because that's what I've been to the officer. I've never met an officer where they've been an absolute dick.
Yeah.
Even like
they're out there.
Yeah.
But
don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that there's some bad cops. I know a bad cop.
Yeah.
But I haven't been pulled over by him.
Yeah.
So it doesn't affect me. I don't know. Yeah. But the point is that I think that you're right now that shitting on cops is considered cool. That's what everyone wants to do, and everyone wants to prove that they're badass nowadays.
I just got done with a class where a cop at the end of it, sometimes they'll come up and give me a coin or their police badge. So I've got tons of unit patches for police departments. But he handed that, and that's my patch. But he handed me his patch, and then he says, "This is good for one free misdemeanor." Walked off, and I'm like, of course, you can't do that. Cool. But there's been funny stories of like people have the Warrior Poet decal in their window, get pulled over, and instead of getting a ticket, the cop and them just chat about Warrior Poet Society for 10 minutes and they go free. Don't go break the law and think your decal gets you out of it.
Oh,
but
yeah,
anyway, I'm just saying that they're cool people. Sometimes they have bad days, just like you do, and don't be a jerk, and they won't be forced to be a jerk back. And they're doing a job. And before they were a cop, they weren't born a cop. They were like,
they come out with a set of Oakleys and side shaved heads, and they're like,
yeah. I mean, they were just working a job, and then they're usually pigeonholed to respond a certain way because dealing with the general public, it forces you to be a jerk sometimes. Anyway, there you go.
100%. Well, out of everything, what so what got you into the military? Let's talk about that for a second.
Man, I had a whole laundry list of, Captain America idyllic things.
Like you're going to go there, they're going to give you a shield, and you're just going to be bashing terrorists left and right.
If I had been given a shield, I would have been 10 times the soldier I was. In a cool outfit. Sorry, I'm just on an Avengers.
I'm picturing Captain America running through like
that's what I needed.
Iraq or something like that, just bashing people.
Yep, would have done it for me.
Freedom
would have done it. Would have been a whole different John.
Where's
Lovell.
your oil?
A whole different John Lovell.
Oh,
yeah, you
man.
give me a cool costume and a shield. Yeah, that would have been epic.
So are you a comic book nerd? You like?
No, I'm not. I'm not at all. But I got really into the Avengers series. So like even on the way over here, I was looking at a YouTube video of like Easter eggs you missed from Infinity War. And so I like nerdy things like who Adam Warlock is. And I'm nerding out on that stuff. My wife laughed at me last night to my face, laughed at me. It was really rude. It was really rude. She's smoking hot, so she gets away with it, Mrs. Poet. So anyway, because I'm truly nerding out on stuff, I'm like backstories and who different people are and what is the true nature of the various Infinity Stones. I'm like, what has happened to me? What is wrong with me?
I want a side by side photo of both you in your drab, and then you reading like, all right, wow, Thanos, he's an interesting character.
Oh, he's the best.
The same
And
guy.
I'm just like decked out in Avengers garb.
You know what? Another unpopular opinion: Thanos isn't a bad guy.
You know, I loved Thanos.
He was
I
so
get it.
level-headed he did some shitty things.
Sure.
And we won't go into any spoilers, but I don't think he's a bad guy.
I think he's a terrible guy. But I don't think he's trying to be a terrible guy, if that's what you mean. Like,
yeah.
he has a philosophical, presuppositional difference
100%.
of opinion, and he's sticking true and doing what he believes is right and compassionate and generous. And you see his mercy, you see his compassion, but you also see a riddled past where I'm like, the outworkings of his is much similar to Hitler, who in the same way is trying to rescue the human race through a cleansing of the gene pool for the overall betterment of society.
Right,
And
but
so,
the difference is that he doesn't focus on one particular group of people or because they're gay or because they have different skin tones or because they're not, blonde and blue-eyed. Everyone dies equally, 50-50. Rich and poor alike,
right, which means you still murdered half of the
Right.
universe. So
Well,
you can't be Mother Teresa and do that.
I'm not saying that, but and this is totally weird subject. I don't want to stay on this.
This is fun,
but
though.
It is fun. This is such an interesting topic because I could sit here and talk about that all day. But one thing, the way that I look at it is that in that world, our God does not exist.
Mm-hmm.
That is a world powered by Thanos and Thor and Loki. Like, these are all their gods,
Yeah.
right? So in that world, our God doesn't exist. So that, I guess that way of thinking, I'll pretend like that way of thinking is not in that universe. So in a world where those gods like Thor and even him, I would say Thanos is technically considered a god in that world.
Sure.
Where his job, at least as a god, is to come through and kill some people from time to time. I mean, we've had a plague or two. We've had some flooding before. I'm just kind of comparing it to that. I'm not saying it is the same.
No, that's really interesting. And all of a sudden, I started going deeper as well. The reason why we have a real, I think, I live by the assumption, presupposition that we have a moral law. The only way I can truly believe that we have a set, real moral law, meaning it's always wrong to rape, no matter where you are and no matter what time it is. It's not culturally based. It's not period based. Rape, always wrong.
Rape bad.
So murdering your parents, always bad.
Bad.
You should not do that.
Murder bad.
Doesn't
Rape
matter
bad.
on your culture or your time period. And what we're driving at is a universal moral law. Now, the only way I can, logically justify a universal moral law is if there is a true moral law giver. If there's creation, there must be a creator. If there's design, there must be a designer. If there's moral law, there must be a moral law giver. Now, in a universe where we don't have that transcendent, unmoved mover, as Aristotle would say, then we don't have that objective moral law. It's subjective, in which case Thanos' version of morality is as valid as Captain America's or Tony Stark's, in which case we are really being nerdy now.
Yeah, no, this is going, we're now combining biblical with theoretical at this point.
Yeah, and so we went way deep. It's like we're 3 levels down in inception of nerdiness.
But I like
anyway.
it though. It's a weird thought process.
We can move on, but it was just so titillating. I had to go for it. And there's a weird word. Sorry, I used that.
We'll transition from that. How about that?
Yeah.
So you're a man of spiritual and religious nature. I know that. And had that affected anything that you've with the military? That's got to be kind of challenging because the military is very hard on that type of stuff, right?
Yeah, and so not a lot of Rangers are, claiming Jesus is Lord and Savior. By
I just
any
remember
means.
us talking a long time ago when we originally talked about it. It's like you said that your religious belief is one of the main things that kept you going.
Sure.
And that's one of the things that always stuck with me. And I'm trying to remember the words, and I'm sure you can, repeat yourself better than I can, but it was something along the lines of, it's like you knew what you were doing was for like the best, and it was like I'm trying to remember.
Well,
Take it away, John.
One little anecdotal thing is there's no atheists in foxholes. You've heard that expression?
Yeah.
Everyone knows that expression, and everyone knows it because it's not true. Of course, there's atheists in foxholes. The whole point, though, is at the time, everyone's begging, a transcendent being, please help, please help, please help. And I think it brings out something that is rooted in us, that, there's no atheists in foxholes. There is a spiritual dimension that anybody that believes that they are facing life and death is always clinging out to a creator. So at least there's a utility in belief that I recognized on the battlefield. And I didn't believe in God or Jesus because it was helpful. I believed in it because I truly believe it is a logical worldview. And that, and most people would be like, what? That's fairy tale. Yeah, easy, guys. I have arguments I promise you've never heard. You've heard a one-sided story. There's some of the most brilliant men in the world don't believe, in God. And then there's other guys who are also as amazing resumes, some of the most brilliant men in the world who believe that Jesus is the God-man, like Dr. Ian Hutchinson and William Dembski and Jonathan Wells, and just the Michael Behe and John Lennox and Alistair McGrath. These are all like multiple PhD upper echelon dudes, and so don't tell me that it's not intellectually, satisfying to believe in an ultimate being when some of the most brilliant men on the planet do. But anyway, for me, for me as a soldier, that was one of the driving things that really got me through, of faith in, a God, and believe. I was reading Bible all the time, and then I'd go live that. And that was like kind of a secret weapon for me, that allowed me to be bold, allowed me to be right. The Bible says the righteous are as bold as lions. And I felt like, okay, I'm going to go in there, and maybe I'm going to get in a fight. Maybe I die. Maybe I kill people. Maybe, we all die, whatever. And if I die, I go be with Jesus in paradise. And I really believe that. In which case I'm like, oh, that's so bad.
Yeah.
It's like
that's
all of a
the
sudden,
conversation that we had that I'm starting to remember.
And now all of a sudden, to actually, here, listen to me, guys. If you ever face your own demise, or you have to use lethal force, whether you're getting, mugged, or home invasion, or you're in the military, you're a cop, whatever, there's some key questions that are going to immediately spring to mind, possibly. Can you kill? What's worth killing for? Are you ready to die? Because if you're not truly ready to die for certain things, and it's not even just an intellectual, it's kind of like a deeper down soulish thing. You got to really, really be ready to die. Otherwise, you'll cower, you'll run, you'll freeze. But fighting, that's a whole different animal. And so you have to settle a few philosophical, theological questions, because right now, when we're all just kind of hanging out and doing whatever, we can distractedly push that noise back. But when you're fearing for your life, those are the questions. And if you haven't satisfactorily answered them beforehand, there may not be any brain left to deal with the situation at hand, because you're struggling to deal with those things.
God, that's an incredible mentality. That is just...
Yeah, be ready to die, or you're not really ready to be a great defender. When the moment comes, you may hide, you may cower, but and that's getting into fighter mindset. I talk about that a ton on the channel, fighter mindset kind of stuff. So anyway, and this is turned kind of heavy. Like, I'm pretty light a lot of times, and I get heavy in some other stuff. But don't think of like John's really serious and he's going to give me a book report when I get to his channel. I'm like, no, we have some.
I hope
fun
it's not a math
too.
problem.
So anyway,
well, this is the type of stuff I wanted to explore on. I wanted to get your mental thought. I wanted to pick your brain on this stuff. I want to know the mentality that it goes into, because that's not something I've experienced myself.
Sure.
I like knowing from your perspective, what it's like, because it's not a life that I lived, but to hear it so eloquently put from someone like you, who's just so vastly intelligent. Like, you're so well spoken
Thanks.
for. I don't want to say this, but for being in the military. I know that sounds
No, it's okay.
like such a.
You son. No,
I know. Well, it's like all my friends are in the military, whether they be Marines or Air Force, are just like they're like, yeah, man, what's up, bro? And you're like, okay,
Yeah.
all right, we're gonna have a talk, or
Huh?
yeah, bro, you want to go smash some weights and then pick up chicks, and it's like, I mean, sure, cool,
Well,
whatever.
and that is a lot of the military. That's some of Ranger Battalion. You also have guys with multiple degrees and very, very intelligent. But a lot of the intelligence of somebody in special operations, and some of them are just brilliant. Multiple languages, they're brilliant.
Yeah.
And even so, there will be some type of street smart brilliance as well, of kind of like the hustler on the corner may have a certain brilliance that Ivy League mathematician won't possess. And so anyway, there is certain types of brilliance in more prestigious areas of the service on average, I think. But I studied a lot. Anyway.
Well, another question that I have for you, and I don't know if this has been really annoying me just asking questions left and right, but so when I picture tactics, right, which is that's what you do is all tactics, right? So in the field, what I picture, let's say that in my head, it's a bunch of guys sitting around like a pad and going like, all right, so we're going to go around here and then we're going to hit the enemy from here, like football plays, that's how I picture it in my head of that's how it's going.
Yeah.
Is it anything like that?
That is a part of it. You're probably combining a little bit of strategy with tactics, and that's fine. To give a clear definition of tactics, because people don't have that, and even when you look it up in the dictionary, it's not very satisfying or helpful.
It's very open-ended.
So I define tactics for you. Here's John's definition. Tactics are gaining an advantage over an adversary in the areas of timing, positioning, and psychology. Timing, positioning, and psychology. And so there's all kinds of neat little tactical cheats that I have where somebody can have a gun to my head and I'm concealed carrier right now I'm in the holster. How in the world do I get gun out and respond to
Zero
that?
imprint, by the way.
Huh?
I had no idea you were appendix carrying.
Yeah.
Zero imprint.
Yeah. And part of it's that's hot. Here's my blaster. That's what I
Nice.
carry, guys. Pretty
See,
cool.
I hear a lot of people. I remember the first time I ever saw one of these holsters advertised, it was along the lines of it's like appendix carry is so dumb, it's so uncomfortable, you can't sit down, it's just the most uncomfortable thing in the world. And he's like this guy like going on a rant, and he's sitting down and he goes, "Yeah, just kidding, like."
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it was so cool.
Way to go.
He's
That's
like went into
brilliant.
this rant about how appendix carry was like so impractical, it's like it's uncomfortable, you can't sit anywhere, and then he lifts up his shirt and it's just sitting right there, and you're like, oh,
never mind. I had it
Yeah.
on this whole time. That's brilliant. Good
Yeah.
job for the video. Yeah.
But,
Anyway, how in the world, from a position of such tactical disadvantage, meaning an adversary met me, I'm responding from of attack I didn't see, surprised. I have to process it all and then figure out a way of like, man, he's setting ready and I'm in the holster. I'm freaking out as well. How in the world can I turn the tables on him?
Right.
In dealing with the psychological element. So I have little prepackaged systems where even if I told you of like, all right, dude, just pull the trigger when you see me move. And I'll teach this in my Pistol 3 class as well. The response is absolutely so difficult that, every single time you do it generally right, you're going to smoke them. You're going to smoke them of like they have no chance. And then students will be asking me of like, well, how do you defend against your response to that? And I'm like, don't get the yeah. Anyway, and what it is it's skills, is how to draw, how to reload, how to shoot fast and accurate. But tactics is how to fight smarter. We rule the animals. Not because we've got sharper teeth and sharper claws and we're faster or thicker hides. No, animals are better than us, and all of it is one common denominator of why we rule the animals, and that's because we're smarter. Mm-hmm. And that's how we'll rule our enemies as well. So tactics is fighting smarter. And so what I do is disrupt their psychological thought processes, distracting them, whether it's... Yeah, anyway, I don't want to get too much into it unless you forced me to. But anyway, it's a mental distraction.
At gunpoint?
It's also exploiting the timing of something and making sure I'm in proper positioning from everything of how I surrender to someone. If you held a gun to me, I wouldn't surrender like this.
No.
I'll surrender like this.
because you're still within.
I'll surrender
reach of
like this
everything.
so that my hands are literally right next to your gun. With my eyes, I'm surrendering as a bad guy immediately is interested in one thing, control. That's what he wants, dominance. So psychologically, you need to give him that dominance immediately. You say, we just had a baby. I'll do anything you want. We just had a baby. And that's psychologically off-putting, and he looks like, I've dominated. Now he'll scan, possibly, for other threats, whether it's a quick look left and right, or he moves from the dominance mindset to the exploitation mindset. What does he want? How does he move to a second crime scene, or how does he do something else? But there's a psychological element. The positioning is the hands. The timing will be... Anyway, and then we can go into a disarm and a counterattack with guns. So anyway, when I start talking about all those different variables, we're talking about tactics. Room clearing. There's some skills employed in room clearing, but it's mostly a game of tactics, positioning, timing, psychology, whether it's deliberate or it's more dynamic, like kind of the old 1980s SWAT team stuff, kicking indoors with flashbangs and stuff. That's all different room clearing theory, and it's based on it's based on the same tactical principles with different techniques hanging on it. Room clearing is really important because if you ever get in a fight, if you ever get in a gunfight, it will be in and around structures. Whether it's in your house, that's a room clearing problem.
Well, this is a very common setting.
Right. Grocery store or movie theater or work, wherever you go, a parking lot, all the angles. It's all a room clearing problem. But we all spend all our time shooting on the range. We don't actually embark in any tactical training and any room clearing stuff. But it's really appropriate for...
It's easy to hit a standing still target from 10 yards away.
Great, do that. And even when you start doing fast shooting and draw, the fight will feel nothing like that.
Right.
It will feel nothing like that. It doesn't mean we shouldn't be doing that. In fact, we do. In the same way that we go learn our ABCs, that's what we're doing on the range. It's like sight alignment, sight picture, trigger press, don't anticipate the shot. That's like writing, A and B, and that's what we're doing. But eventually we want to pass continue to progress and get into more tactical training, scenario-based training,
right?
Stuff like that. And that's stuff that I move people to in my classes too.
Well, that's the reason why I named the stream The Art of War, because what you do is very like it's an art on a lot of levels. I mean,
sure.
Just what is any art? It's the way you move your body. It's the way you listen to sounds. It's anything that you can do where there's a received result.
Yeah,
is art, and I think a lot of what you do is art in a really different way. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, and I'd like to, since you brought it up, I'd like to delineate really quickly between art, science, and then just fury, because war and fighting is a science first. You learn the science. Think, a lot of times when I say that, I think about the Sherlock Holmes. Remember that completely cool scene?
Where the napkin and yeah.
Dude, amazing scene.
Is that similar to like your thought process of how it goes, just in a much...
Yeah, except I can't see it all in slow motion.
Right, obviously. That would be super
amazing.
Convenient.
But yeah, absolutely.
Missing that superpower.
Absolutely. That right there is pure tactics. And the tactician is the one that wins the fight. You look at our UFC champion.
Well, I think my biggest concern, like my biggest problem, was that I had a misunderstanding of the word tactic.
Yeah.
In my head, I was thinking football plays and stuff like that, like because you want to go around and stuff like that. I mean,
no, and that's tactics too. That's also tactics.
Well, what else did you call it?
It's gaining an advantage of timing, positioning, and psychology.
Okay.
So that's it.
Position.
At a certain time, this person moves to a certain position.
Right.
And you're trying to make the team think you're doing something different.
Gotcha.
Yeah, football plays are
Simple.
tactics. That's great. And we'll do the same thing with react to ambushes and break contacts and conducting a raid to take down a city. It's football plays with guns. And
like laser tag.
With a lot more fear. War is very cerebral until it's not. Yeah, I know. But hang
like
with
reaction,
me here.
You mean?
Hang with me. Think Sherlock Holmes making the science, making the plan. It's the science. Once you get really good at the science, it becomes an art. So there's a higher level of it, an art where you've used the scientific principles, the mathematical theorems, and now you've progressed beyond it, understanding those principles to make it something creative, free-flowing, something spontaneous.
Where your muscles just kind of react.
Something like that. But once you're done with the cerebral process and all that, then war is all emotion. It's all furious, visceral response where you flip this switch and you just go crazy.
See, I always thought that emotions would get in the way of
Now, on the outside, you may look very calm, but there is a fire-breathing dragon in your spirit that is ready to inhale your victims.
I guess it would make sense. You can't.
You have to flip a switch, it's some way or another to rouse yourself to do something terrible. So once you plan out, okay, distract, do whatever. Once that plan is made and you hit execute, all of a sudden a savage beast needs to take over and execute according to that plan. You may look calm on the outside, but you need that fighter mindset. You need that aggression.
Adrenaline,
you need pure, raw, nasty aggression to carry it out now. And so war and fighting is very, very cerebral. It's technical, it's scientific, it's artistic. Until you've done that, you've got your plans, and then there needs to be a certain savage element to the execution of that. And I don't mean you lose your mind and that you shut your scientists down.
Well, what do you do to get into that mindset? Like, what do you do to yourself to?
It's funny. There's a ton of different stuff. So
cocaine,
lots of PCP.
PCP.
Actually, just PCP.
Just PCP.
Forget everything else. Just PCP, guys. No.
Yeah, that's how you get into your. Yeah.
I feared that someone's going to take me seriously there. Of like, no, he said.
Yeah,
he said it.
PCP.
Look, it's right there. No, so there's a lot that goes into developing fighter mindset. One thing, and people won't like this, it's being at peace with you're ready to kill for certain purposes. So you've already sorted through those scenarios of like someone had a gun to my girlfriend's head, and I was there. That's go time. I won't second guess it. I've already lived that scenario in my head, and I'm ready to pull the trigger without hesitation.
Right.
Like, good. I have scenarios where I'm ready to kill. I'm also ready to die for certain things. Perfect love casts out all fear. You really love something. You're not worried about dying anymore. You're just saying you will not hurt them.
It is either you or me at that point.
That's right. And so you've tackled those things. You're ready to die. You're ready to kill.
Fight or flight, kind of.
Sure, but it's that it's that mindset that's ready to say no more. It's a line in the sand.
Right.
So that's part of it. It's the theological, philosophical questions. Other than that, you need some type of aggression training, whether that's martial arts. I just did a hilarious video. I think it's hilarious. Where, guys, you'll love this. And maybe Dan will be so nice to put a link below. But it's aggression training. And it's kind of a joke, but it's kind of not. And what I'll do is I'm reading Shakespeare, Henry V, with my glasses on, and I'm reading Shakespeare. And while I'm reading this, I've got my buddy behind the camera, and whenever he says fight, I have to immediately drop my book and just beat the tar out of this humanoid Bob, the Bob.
Yeah, the ones without the arms.
And I just go like nuts, kicking him in the face and stuff, and just going savage on him. And it's not really a martial arts. At the end of the video, I'm just like...
You're just like stomping it in the
ground.
Yeah,
I mean, like it's nasty, brutal, horrible, whatever I come up with on the spot. It's don't plan, just go savage. And that's the drill, and it's working on aggression training. So that's part of it. And at the end of the video, I show of like, all right, here's some more clean martial arts for you guys in case you're like, why aren't you doing whatever? And make space. I'm like, because it's not a UFC boxing ring. I'm responding to an ambushing predator where I need the melee of furious savagery to survive the first second before I can find my martial arts rhythm. That's what it is.
Well, that's the hard part. Once you get into the groove, I mean, now essentially, right?
Yeah, now you can, get some distance, get some space, and now it can feel a little bit more like the fight you prepared for in a dojo. But, if real fights, bad guys don't attack you like your sparring partner will. Won't look anything like sparring.
Right.
It's nasty, and you need to be throwing 8 punches a second kind of thing. I mean, just overwhelm them with aggression and violence. And
have to take control of a situation, I guess, right?
Yeah. But what I'm talking about is the aggression switch. Also, you need to be well acquainted with fear. So if you have something in life that makes you afraid, and it's not like I'm afraid to rob a bank, so you robbed a bank. Well, you deserve to go to jail for that because you're an idiot. But what I'm talking about, like, hey, splunking, bungee jumping, you're afraid of heights, you need to go bungee jumping, bro. It's good. Just it'll make you a better person in general, so that fear isn't able to freeze you or make you any debilitated. You're afraid of public speaking. You're going to karaoke. I mean, run at what makes you scared, and all of that plays in. Train with firearms. Start carrying a gun concealed. And if you ever want to carry like this, it's better to have some type of training. If you don't just saddle up and throw a gun in an appendix, it's a good way to die. If you have training, this is a very safe, good way to do it. But really, get some type of baseline safety training first, and then please carry a gun to the glory of God. So anyway, even just carrying a gun around, well, all of a sudden, you will never be so situationally aware as the first day you start carrying a gun concealed.
Oh, yeah. And you can always tell those people, too, because they're messing with their shirt a bunch. They keep covering up. They keep touching it to make sure it's not imprinting. I think that's the most the most common new mistakes that you can make is you're always fiddling with it. You're so consciously aware that you have a gun, and you're just like, all right, make sure nobody's
And they scan like that. They're always like...
I kind of do that even if I'm not carrying a gun. I try not to leave myself. Every now and again, like if I know I have to go to a courthouse or something like that for a ticket, I'm not going to carry a gun into the courthouse. That would just be dumb. But even when I'm not, I'm just like, okay, door, exit, window, just kind of just small stuff. I don't have the tactical training that you offer. I haven't done that yet, which we were gonna do a long time ago.
We can go shooting, man. Well, let's go shooting.
I want to do a class with you one day. That's what I'd really like to do, especially with Nogs when you're night vision training.
Night vision stuff.
I remember watching a lot of that stuff way back in the day. You just made it look so cool and
that's because night vision is cool. I was a night vision
Thank you,
instructor for years and years. I took a little bit of a break from night vision for just a little while. I'll get back into it shortly, but taught night vision to all kinds of tactical teams for years. So that was fun. But and it is fun. Yeah, it's fun. I've got some in my car if you want to play with some night vision.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Is that,
I got all kinds of
yes,
goodies.
please. Do I have to say please? I definitely want to play with night vision.
It's white phosphor, high performance stuff. So I mean, it's,
words, numbers, things.
Words, numbers.
Yeah.
I
like all of those things.
Meaning instead of green, it's all white.
It's all white.
It's white.
I got a buddy that hunts hogs with a white scope. It's a white hot.
Yeah.
So it's either gray or white.
That's thermal.
Oh.
That's likely thermal.
Mind. Yeah, that's what it is. It is thermal.
But no, and those are cool too.
Interesting.
But it's a different technology for a different purpose.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'd still like to play with them and learn about them. That'd be really cool. Yeah. But how did you get started on the tactical training?
Yeah, so special operations background was in my wheelhouse. Then I worked for a tactical training company for a few years, and then went out on my own. And so, anyway, just fighting's always been kind of in my wheelhouse, in my background. It's not because I love fighting or I love guns, but
we'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah, necessarily. So, anyway, but my big payoff is I really actually give a crap. I really want students to be safer.
Thank you, RJ Harris.
My big payoff is when I make you better, where all of a sudden now if that person has to get in a fight, their family may live because of something I taught them. That's a big deal to me. So as an instructor,
huge.
when I'm able to give that to somebody, that's a big payoff for me. So that's why I instruct. But
I like that. I like that thought process. But you also mentioned something, and even just looking at your firearm here. By the way, that's wonderful stipling. I like that. Did you do that yourself?
No, I'm not talented.
Oh, whatever.
No, I'm not. But I have talented friends, which is a good talent, I guess, is to find talented friends. But
well, you've got some purposeful stuff on this gun, but it doesn't look over the top. It's not painted a cool color. It's not, there's no gold on it. I don't see any diamonds encrusted into it. It looks pretty basic. You've got your optic and you've got some stipling, and that looks to be about it, right?
Yeah, I've got a light on there too.
Okay, very useful.
Yeah, different sights. All the internals are the same. The trigger's stock, but it is a different trigger. It's a stock trigger that's been polished, and the trigger face has been changed. But really, I can just take a stock gun and rock it. And a lot of times my students will show up with all kinds of different guns, and I want to be able to demonstrate it's the Indian, not the arrow, right? Of great, give me your gun, and you just slay, and then you hand it back to them, and I'm like, oh, it really is learning. It is
simple.
Yeah, it's not about I got the trigger upgrade of great,
yeah.
and that'll help a little bit, but really it is the Indian, not the arrow. And so I have some things of like the optic upgrade. There's a lot of weaknesses of having a red dot on a pistol.
It's hard to get used to at first.
And
you have to like it's like you have to really tilt it in a weird way to see that optic at first.
And so the goal for me is defensive carry to be able to draw it, present, and see that red dot perfectly every time. Means I have to have a absolute perfect drawn presentation so that I don't ever have to hunt for my red dot.
Right.
And so if you don't have a very well-trained presentation, you'll hate the red dot because you'll present it and you can't find it. And you're like, oh, there it is. And it's a mess. It's an all-or-nothing optic. Anyway, I've got some stuff on here. I've got other guns that are blank, and I've got one gun that's obnoxiously done up. Like, it's nuts.
Ultra tactical.
You wouldn't believe. I mean,
this
this
thermal
is
and fucking
thermal
scope on a revolver. Like
it's screw served. It's got a belt,
a belt-fed Glock.
That'd be awesome.
Now, have you heard of the STI 2011 modular handgun? I don't think I have. That sounds like a car to me. I don't think so.
I'm not sure.
I'm unfamiliar with it.
And so, sorry, Honda. And one difficulty as well is people are oftentimes let down when I don't know the newest gizmo or whatever. I'm a fighter. I'm a tactician. First, and then a reader second, and and then way down the list of like, yeah, I guess I'm into guns, but they're tools. This is a hammer to me. Of like,
yeah.
I'm like, oh,
that's a good transition.
Hey, Lucille, how are you, sweetheart?
Yeah.
My Mrs. Poet names her guns. I don't really name all of my guns.
That's a common thing. But we're in a weird era of like pornification of guns. I talked about this briefly with you, and especially way back in the day. I think anybody who's anybody thinks that if you use a gun to train or practice with, you have to be so head over heels for the gun, like it might as well be your wife or your girlfriend. Like you have to give it the nicest lubricant, and you have to pretty it up and make it nice and pretty, and you have to make sure it's the right color to match your purse or whatever. And you're just not into that, are you?
I almost never clean my guns because I have good guns. So just like I don't really remember the last time I cleaned it. I should probably clean it soon.
Probably.
So you want to keep it oiled, but I just throw whatever oil's around. Like
I've never cleaned my Glock.
Yeah,
it's got 10,000 rounds. So
keep it oiled though. In the same way you wouldn't run a car without oil. Don't run a gun without oil.
I'll hit it with some of that it's the green spray can.
Great.
Yeah.
Use that.
That's
fantastic.
my favorite. Yeah,
some oils are better than others, but I mean, just keep it wet. That's it. Just dab
with
a little
oil,
stuff.
not
but
water.
Usually I'll just bum off my students. I'm like, who's got some oil? Because I don't want to travel with oil that'll bust in my stuff. So it's the one thing I'll borrow from students, and I'll just whatever's available. I don't really care. But I could carry a lot of different guns. I'm just not married to it. I don't. I'm the weapon. This is not. This is a tool. You are the weapon, right?
Well, in this community, do you find yourself pandering to those people who are into? Because like you work with tons of people that I'm sure are just like, oh man, that Daniel Defense is the coolest gun ever. Oh man, the new 5th gen Glocks are so cool. You're like, yeah. When you really don't even give a shit, like
kind of. But the folks that I really look up to or look beside, peers in the industry, other professional instructors, or prior or present operators, they're my mindset. They're usually if they're really good with guns, usually they don't care that much about guns,
right?
And I'm speaking generally. Some are really big collectors, meaning there's protectors and collectors. I did a video on that. Of some folks they're into all the cool toys and beautiful aesthetics, and there's nothing wrong with that. Rock, if that blows your hair back, great. I don't judge you for it. No sweat.
Get your jollies off.
Yeah, I said that earlier, and he's like, "Did you say jollies?" So that was weird.
Everyone is like, "I need the most expensive optic I can get. I need to have this Cerakoted in the coolest, loudest colors. I need to have this light. It's $2,000. I need this light right now. This light and it ends up being like a ridiculously overplayed gun for self-defense. When if unfortunately that person ever has to use that gun in self-defense, goodbye to that gun.
Yeah, so I teach...
The police take that.
So what happens is sooner or later, if they want the next step, you're like, you feel unsafe, you buy a gun. Then you kind of get into that gun, and you're like, I want to be better, and you're not as good as you want. And so you think if I just modify the tools, then that'll equal better, and that's not the case. So people will show up for classes, and some will have just stock whatever. And some will be like sexier up guns than mine. And I'm like, whoa, his gun is worth way more than mine. And it's irrelevant to me. It doesn't matter. When somebody pulls out a fancy gun, they may be real bad, decent, pretty good. Everyone's getting tuned up here. I don't really care about the hardware. I just want it to run right, and it's the Indian, not the arrow. If you want a sexy arrow, then spruce it up. That's fine, but don't think that that's a substitute. Don't think that that's a substitute for training. That's the tool isn't going to get you there.
I like that.
Training gets you there.
It's the same thing in the motorcycle community. Just because I have a fast bike doesn't make me the fastest rider. And I don't pretend to be super good at riding, but just because I have a fast bike, I guarantee you that anybody on a much smaller class bike that has any sort of track day experience would just wipe the floor with me.
Right. Same concept.
Yeah. It doesn't matter how expensive that or how good that can shoot. It's about how good you can shoot. Right.
Right. And then the tools do something, because, the stippling, I don't really care that much. I want stippling on this side, just high up where this hand interfaces with it. That's about all I care about for stippling, but somebody wrapped that, and I'm like, oh, that's fine.
That's a wrap?
Yeah, like...
That's not...
It's stippled all the way around.
That's not, like, cut into it?
Yeah, the stippling is cut into it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry. I mean...
I thought you meant like it was like a wrap.
They cut
like
no, okay, sorry. Different terminal. I used the wrong word. Yeah, anyway, it doesn't really matter. Just whatever gun. Now, I'd like this gun. I'd be very upset if I lost it, but I've got a...
But not because you have an emotional attachment to it like a lot of people do. Like,
No.
if I lost my Desert Eagle, I'd be all butthurt about it because it's an expensive pistol and I like it a lot. But not because I depend on it.
I would
The same way that
somehow
you
be
would-
able to continue and endure.
Well, obviously.
Yeah.
But you don't depend on this gun. I'm sorry. You depend on this gun for safety, not because you like it.
It's a tool.
It's a tool.
It's just
like
a
a
tool.
hammer. You wouldn't
Like a
go
hammer.
around dipping your hammers in gold, would you?
No.
Exactly. Like
But
you
if
think
someone
there's-
offered me a gold hammer, I would take it.
Now, don't get me wrong. If I'm on a roof fixing roofs and I have a really shitty hammer, and then I have like the Pound-O-Matic 5000, which is the electric hammers or whatever, the ones I like. I'm like, obviously, I'm going to be really happy to use that when I can. But at the end of the day, it's just a tool. I mean, one is going to be more proficient than the other.
Right. And as a professional, I'm going to make sure I have really nice stuff.
Right.
But it's not that I love that stuff. It's that I want good stuff. Like a builder would have a good hammer with my AR-15s and, armor and whatever else I'm playing with. It's nice stuff generally. It may not be the nicest. And you may point that out to me and I'll be like, okay, that's
Neat.
That's true. Neat.
That's the best way. Like whenever someone comes at you with something ridiculous, like, oh, you don't need that. It's just like, neat. Good for you.
Looks like you were the better man.
Yeah.
Good job.
Good job. It's like, if like a vegetarian gets all up in your shit about eating meat, it's like, I guess I just don't have the strength and willpower to turn away the screaming sounds of an animal. It's like, because you need more protein. You're not strong enough.
What is that?
How I Met Your Mother?
What is that? There was such a funny meme. I love memes. So if you guys have good memes, tag me in memes. I just, on the way over here, I saw, and I know I shouldn't have looked at it. I was at a traffic light and I got that bored that quick. There was a shark, great white shark coming up out of the water. And the caption was, rare footage of a great white shark stepping on a Lego. Stepping on a Lego. Like, coming up out of the water. And I got little kids with Legos, so I'm like, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. Yes.
That's the worst
it.
feeling in the world.
But
I'm sure.
somebody was responding to some of the like hyper vegan whatever. And they were like, how can you drink water? That's some fish's house.
That's a fish's house, you ignorant bitch.
But it is all silly. No matter what, you're killing, murdering, and pillaging something at a biological level.
Yeah. How can you breathe? That's plants. That's plants is oxygen. How dare you? Yeah. You said you like hand to hand. What training styles in martial arts have you trained? 5 years MMA and 2 years Krav Maga myself.
Wonderful stuff, Honda. Hey, Honda, make sure you subscribe to my channel. I just reviewed a book. Well, I want you to see this video that's coming out. It'll come out in the next week or so. Open plug. Yes, it was an open plug, but it's because you're going to be interested in this. One is MMA, Krav Maga. Way to go, bud. That's awesome, awesome, awesome stuff. Love it. I've got some Krav background as well. I've got a heavy jiu-jitsu and wrestling background as well, so we're kind of cut from the same cloth. The piece that you may be missing or may not be is the gun side. It's not good enough to be good with guns or martial arts. You need both because they are solutions to different problems, or they're stuff that you need. Sometimes you won't be able to get to the gun. You need martial arts for the opportunity to get to gun. Or martial arts is, frankly, not enough. Somebody has some distance with you, and you can't close that distance, and they have weapons. I mean, of like, dude, you got to make space. Guns are violence at a distance and use that stuff. So you need different systems. But anyway, the video that's coming out I want you to see is an interview with Rory Miller, and he's cross-trained in all kinds of different martial arts. But what he's giving is the realistic development of how the difference between a fight and an assault. If you're an assault victim where a bad guy's catching you by surprise, a lot of what we can learn in a dojo can sometimes go out the window as we're incapacitated before we ever get a chance to really fall into our martial arts rhythm. We get ambushed. So how do you survive that first ambush? How does an assault differ from an actual fight? And he's answering that stuff, and you'll dig that. You'll love that.
I boxed for like 3 weeks.
That's awesome. Boxing is really, really good.
I got hit in the face really hard, and I was like, I have to stop.
Fantastic. I would rather you take 3 really good weeks of boxing than
Actually,
maybe 3 years of taekwondo.
Yeah, I moved very suddenly, and then the place where I was going to was like 4 hours away from me. All of a sudden, I was like, I can't stay. But yeah, I did get hit in the face pretty hard, and I was like, okay, I'm done.
Yep. Well, that's good. Make sure you get used to getting hit and get hit in the face some. Otherwise, if you get hit in the face during an ambush and an assault, it'll freeze you. You got to get used to that pain a little bit.
Someone's asking if you have any classes in or near VA. Now,
Judd,
he travels.
Yeah, Judd, I just got back from West Virginia. It was like a week ago, bro. I'm so sorry. I'll circle back around to Virginia. I will. My classes are pretty tough to get into, but watch them. My training calendars on my website. warriorpoetsociety.us has my website. It's got all my cool swag and stuff, but also my training calendar, links to videos, blogs, all that jazz. So if you're interested in training with me, that's what you'll have to do. And I travel around the country, right?
Yeah. He did you just ask me, right?
Well, no, that was my way of saying, like, who am I? What do I
Who am I?
No, I was saying, was that what you were saying?
Yeah. No, I was just clarifying that he teaches around the U.S. and you do more or less stuff with law enforcement now. It's kind of like your
No,
major.
I teach a ton of civilians.
Oh, okay.
So in
I
a
thought,
no. In a class, I'll have a line of civilians. I'll have a few cops,
So
and
if-
I may
if
have
you
a
go-
couple military guys. But it's different.
well, where do you hold your classes at if they're in different states?
Usually, it's at a gun club or on private land.
Okay, so you communicate and make sure that you can go and teach a class at, let's say, a range. Like
Yeah,
you
so
get in touch with a range. that
I'll
you're
get a
familiar with.
venue, and then I'll post it on my website, and then everybody registers for the class, and then they show up.
Okay.
So that's how it is, and they're open enrollment. So if you can buy it on the website, then as long as you can legally attend it, you're not a felon, you're able to attend firearms training. So if you can buy it online, you can get it. If it's like I've got like a private SWAT team or something, you won't be able to register for that. That's a private thing I work out, and I'll put it on the website.
Well, what are your opinions on the massive amount of internet operators that we seem to have all of a sudden?
Well, I mean, we have been at war for a long time. And so a lot of, like, when I got out of the military, that's my skill of, like,
I'm not talking about military. I'm talking about these people who've never had military training.
Oh, gotcha.
Who I see tons of them.
Yeah.
Of people who have never been in the military but offer these like crazy military tactics. There's tons of them.
Be real careful with tactics classes. Firearm classes are a little bit different, but even as you get different, like you could spend 20, 30 years shooting and never for one day prepare for a gunfight. You could spend all your life shooting and not spend a single moment actually preparing for a real gunfight. Won't look anything like that. Shooting Coke bottles off your back porch has nothing to do with gunfighting. Gunfights happen in a very freakish small amount of space, usually very, very close, while you're all freaking out and you're
Gas
trying to maintain.
station, stuff like
Yeah, and
that.
so it'll feel nothing like that. You could be a crack shot, bursting watermelons at 800 meters with your Barrett and suck in a fight. And in fact, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of those people do it for enjoyment, but there was a spree at least a couple of years ago when the whole stolen valor thing was really a big problem, and people were going around like malls and stuff like that, calling other people out for wearing military uniforms when they had never in the military, and then there's a lot of these tactical instructors now. This is like the new thing where it's like they've never had any sort of military training yet. They offer military style training, and there's tons. You can watch videos all day long of these ridiculous classes.
And I don't watch a lot of it. One is just, hey guys, be smart, be leery. Background is very, very important. It is also not everything. I learned stuff from people who've never been in the military. And maybe it's a competitive shooter or something. They have something to offer, so that's great. Experience isn't everything, but experience is really important. I mean, you'd like to know that if you're training for a fight, the guy that's teaching you that has been in fights. That seems
100%.
reasonable.
Like you wouldn't go take an MMA class from someone who's never fought a day in their life.
Right, of course.
Right.
And so experience there's something to say for experience, but it's not everything. Some of these internet tactical operators, they're a joke.
Tactical.
They're a joke, and I don't really entertain it. It's if you're discerning, you can kind of tell the difference between the pro instructor and stuff who's not putting on airs. I mean, anyway, I've got peers in the industry. They're good dudes. See who I look up to and respect and interface with. I will let you know by just my interaction of who's legit and who's not. I don't follow any of the internet operators.
Oh, I mean, I don't either.
So,
there's only a few people that I follow right now that do any sort of like hardcore gun training. I follow you, obviously. There's this new guy that I've started following, and you guys can check him out. His name is Knockout Lights.
Yeah, he's a friend.
He's a friend of yours?
Yeah.
He seems like just such a humble guy from what I've seen. Like all of his stuff looks really cool, and like I actually sent him a message the other day, and he responded, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But he's, correct me if I'm wrong, I think he's SWAT and law enforcement. I don't know if he has any military training or not, but like his videos are he always does really cool drills, I think.
Yeah.
Like he has this one where he covers up one of his eyes with some like not chalk, but like lip balm on one of his glasses. It gets all foggy, so it kind of forces you to use your non-dominant eye.
Yeah.
Just cool things like that. And then True Exodus, I don't know. Are you familiar with him?
He's a bud.
He's a bud of yours too?
Yeah, he's a friend. He calls me from time to time, and we chat and hang
I don't
out.
think he has any military experience either.
No,
does
he doesn't. But True Exodus came and took a room clearing class with me.
That's right. I do remember that. And I don't follow him because he doesn't. I don't think he teaches any tactics, but some of his shooting methods are really interesting.
He teaches fundamental skills, so he stays in his lane as he should. If he comes out, and I told him
True Exodus tactical dude.
Don't teach room clearing. And he's like, oh, no, I totally wouldn't. But, I mean,
not.
Here's a guy with no real background to speak of, but he's an incredibly fast and accurate shooter. So, I mean, he has something to offer. And, if we're out shooting and he gives me a tip, I'll listen. And I may learn something right there. He's a phenomenal shooter. He's a friend. So, rock on. Knockout Lights is also got some good stuff to say. Usually I troll Knockout Lights, so when he goes live or something, I'll get in the comments.
Talk
smack. No, I mean, he's great. I love him, but he's so serious all the time.
He is. He's very serious.
Dude, smile.
Stoic.
Just
very
smile.
stoic.
Everything's so serious. I'm like, come on, man, don't be so serious.
He's like, today we're going to be looking at the new Glock. It's a Glock, and then you aim and you shoot, and then I find that to be appropriate.
Yes, and I'm like,
dude, he's very deadpan.
Let me see a smile, bro. Let me see a smile.
Can't let people see that he smiles. That's like the predator bleeding.
Well, don't watch my videos because half the time I've got like the worst dad jokes ever. It's kind of like my calling card.
You're the ultimate dad. He really is. He's the ultimate dad. It's hard to believe that that he is as skilled and powerful and deadly as he is when he's over here like, I don't know, thirsty, can you, or something like that. Whatever you say. I'm Thursday. Well, I'm Friday.
We have Is that Fluffy the potato?
That'd be Fluffy the potato. He asked, what does John think about teachers with guns?
Can we do a timeout first and just talk about Fluffy the potato's name? That's an amazing name.
You know what? I'm picturing of like a really fluffy potato.
Hey.
I'm kind of hungry.
Good job. Do it with Dan. Not a good name. Warrior Poet. Not a good name. Fluffy the potato. You trumped us all, bud.
10 out of 10.
Good job. 10 out of 10. Victory. All right. What does John think about teachers with guns? Here's my big thing of one, I don't like, and I did a video on this. Sorry, I follow that up. I've got so many videos
No,
now. I can answer
Yeah.
I can answer everything with, like, John, how do you feel about, I did a video on it. Next question. I did a video on that too. Next question. But with that I would like it to change instead of saying, hey, let's arm our teachers. And all of a sudden everyone freaks out because it's kind of like, arm our teachers. Imagine students getting hold of it and negligence and, negligent discharges in the classroom and all kinds of stuff that could go wrong, hitting a student accidentally. So I think that's not the narrative to go. How about this? Don't forbid teachers to carry guns if they want to and they've sought training. Just don't forbid it. So right now it's illegal.
Don't force them, but don't forbid it.
That's right. Let them just be a responsible armed citizen like everyone else. So, like, yeah, if you're a mechanic and you've got a concealed carry permit, you can carry your gun to, your job, unless otherwise. But it's not fundamentally outlawed for mechanics to carry guns. But it may be for public school teachers or something. Just don't forbid them to carry guns. And now we have a solution. There's a lot of these active murderers, these worthless human being wackos that need to be destroyed immediately, and don't say their names because they're not worth it. They're copycat crimes. That's what's happening. It's called the mass media contagion effect, which means one mass shooter sees all the attention and the fame. They dig into their backstory, and that's like their pipe dream. That's what they want. They want the attention. They want, Lee Harvey Oswald status, where his name is embedded in rock next to the big president, or John Wilkes Booth, Abraham Lincoln, forever. One did great things and the other guy shot a guy, but both are remembered and side by side. And so that's what's happening. And a lot of this, unfortunately, is perpetuated by media coverage. If you stop giving them the limelight and you stop saying their name, the mass media contagion effect starts dying down. But as it stands, more and more copycat crimes happen, which means we're going to continue to see active murderers going in and shooting fish in a bucket, and that's our kids in schools.
Well, it's starting to de-escalate now to the point where I couldn't tell you the names of the past 5 shootings that we've had.
Which makes you feel how? How good does that make you feel?
It's a mixed feeling because, one, I feel like I feel bad, kind of, because I feel like maybe that we're getting numb to the effect of massive shootings, which I don't think we should have to.
Yeah.
But I don't have a solution to that problem.
Right.
It also makes me feel kind of good because at the same time I don't remember that person at all. Like I don't remember them.
Good.
I just remember the victims,
Good.
And
I think the only real, tactically speaking, this is what I know. If some wacko goes off and starts shooting a bunch of little kids, the only way to really stop that person is with a gun. Yeah. I mean, in some freak weird chance, maybe someone gets lucky and gets a bum rush and doesn't get filled with bullet holes in the process. But really, you need a gun to stop a gun. What you want is a warrior. You want some good guy with a gun ready to stop that immediately. So instead of losing 50 kids, you may lose 2 kids, 3 kids. And that's the pragmatic, that's the reality.
That's a terrible way. Like, if you think about it, it's a terrible thing to say, but unfortunately, it's the reality that we're dealt with right now. And, numbers, it's a numbers game, like 1 to 2 compared to 50 or 60.
Yeah. I didn't invent this next thing, but there's a double, triple standard that goes on is the politicians that really push gun control are protected by people with guns. Politicians, anti-gun politicians, protected by people with guns.
But
celebrities,
John, those are trained law enforcement, John.
But it doesn't matter. It's still guns, which they're against fundamentally. And some of them are most of them are not cops. They're private security. Which makes them citizens with training, or paramilitary guys. It'd be like they'd hire someone like me, with a past who's a private company who contracts and does private security.
Hey, protect me with this gun while I sign this bill about banning guns.
That's right. And so it's really, duplicitous. Celebrities as well tout anti-gun whatever, but they're protected by people with guns. Our money is protected by people with guns. Of all kinds of these different things protected by people with guns. But when it comes to our kids, we're like, whoa, no. I just think there's a disconnect.
Well, of course. I mean, of course. It's like they want their cake and eat it too. It's a very weird system in society that we live in right now. It's like, well, we don't want any guns, but I want to be protected by guns. So if you could just, because there's guns,
Yeah, that's right.
You're right. There is a weird double standard between both worlds, and I'll be the first one to say it. I don't have a solution.
Yeah.
I really don't. If I had a solution, like, I don't blindly think that just giving anybody a gun is gonna. I wouldn't trust my teacher with a gun, right? Like when I was in high school, I wouldn't want my teacher to have a gun, specifically because I can remember days where like we'd be like, let's make her cry, let's just ruin her day, But if I would feel much better if it was like an open-ended thing, because we had a resource officer, Officer Starkey, who I don't think any particular crazy training, but just the fact that there was a dude with a gun in the building.
Yeah.
Made a lot of us feel safe. I never once worried about a school shooting.
Right.
And I think that a lot of, if you just gave people the option to.
Right.
Now, when I was in college, we didn't have the campus carry, which I believe is now in effect.
For colleges.
For colleges, a student or a teacher can carry on campus.
And in the state of Georgia.
In the state of Georgia, if they want to.
Right.
Which, man, I cannot imagine how much more safe I would have felt on campus with a firearm on my hip. Or,
Yeah. And there's a predictable criminal planning cycle where they're going to look for soft, easy targets. They see a gun-free zone sign. They're like, here's my target. One without a gun-free zone sign target, not as much. So they're going to look for the places where there's least likely a resistance that can be opposed. Of course. So, but what if your teacher had training and you never, ever knew that they had a gun?
I'd actually rather know.
Right, but I'm just saying there's a way of like maybe there's a bunch of objections that people can give, and some of them will be probably pretty good of like why we shouldn't allow teachers to have guns. I'm like, great, well, let's let a school have at least the freedom to make their own stipulations of like, hey, we want you to have 20 hours of firearm training. We have an agreement here that no student or faculty member should ever see the gun. If we ever see the gun ever, you're immediately fired. Like that kind of stuff.
100%.
Whatever. I'm not putting forth as that's what we should do. I'm just saying whatever gives that school a nice warm fuzzy about a teacher being allowed to carry a gun. Can we at least free them up so that they aren't defenseless?
I agree 100% with that prospect. I think that's a good idea, and I think that's a good. It's good planning.
Yeah,
but. It's kind of weird because there's a double-edged sword with that, right? You give the teachers the option to, if people know that there's guns, like let's say that like, oh, I know that Mr. Johnson in room 304 has a gun.
Yeah.
Not only does he become a safe haven, he becomes a target as well. Yeah. It's the same thing with open carrying, right? It's like, whoa, there's a gun that's going to deter robbers, but at the same time, it's like, okay, he has a gun. I know that he is a first target.
Yes.
Type of deal.
Yeah.
So it's
tactically,
it's a double-edged sword, kind of.
Right. But what if some people are armed, but you don't know who they are?
See that?
Then that's
if you know someone's armed, but you don't know who that person is, then that's a good concept. But if you know that there's someone armed, but you don't know who it is, that's a good concept. But if you give people the option to, where it's like, there might be a gun, there might not be, then obviously that's not going to deter as many people as like, there's guns in this building.
Imagine this morning announcement at your school. Kids, sorry, I've never given an announcement at a school. I just realized I'm like, oh wait, I don't know how to do this.
This is exactly how all teachers give announcements.
They'll
caress the mic from the back like a baby's head. A fresh child.
Hey, boys and girls.
What type of school did you go to, John?
A creepy one,
apparently.
Hey, boys and girls, various faculty are now trained in firearms, and some of them may or may not be carrying them. If there are any brave active shooters amongst you, be on notice. Anyway, back to our morning jingle.
Jesus Christ. What an edgy announcement.
And all of a sudden, all the students, what you'll notice is everyone does their homework. No one skips class or talks back, and nobody tries to assassinate everyone.
Less,
and I'm being hilarious here.
Less fights.
Less fights.
Jesus Christ.
Anyway.
Yeah, in our school we had, like I said, Officer Starkey, he was a little bit taller than me. I want to say he was probably 5'10", but he was just wide as a building, you know. And he had these. He always wore shirts that were like 4 sizes too small. You know, like imagine a police uniform that's way too small, where you can see like the details and the bulletproof vest that he's wearing underneath it. His arms are like literally busting out of it.
You can read the brand.
Dude, people would get in fights and he would literally just go and pick them up.
That's awesome.
He was awesome. But if you had like even. Let's take a step back further. There's one idea that gets proposed a lot in the gun community as far as how to protect schools and so on and so forth, is that you take veterans and you arm them and you put them in front of buildings, or you like they're like you go here like they're chess pieces, you know, but the idea that you would you'd hire some of these veterans that come back that have a hard time finding jobs, which is it's very common now. It seems like you give the veterans jobs and you have them protect the schools. What do you think about that?
I'd rather use cops than veterans.
Why?
Veterans need some training to adapt to a civilian, a law enforcement, or a protective services background.
Well, obviously
there's a transitional switch.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. I was working as soon as I got out of Ranger Battalion, I wanted to go serve at a local church, and so I did. But I'm like, what is my skill set? I'm like, well, I'm fighter. So I got put on protecting the pastor on his pastoral protection team.
Is that a common thing? Is that
well, he's a mega church pastor, so there's thousands and thousands of people, and he's had death threats. So he had to have a pastoral protection team.
Mega churches, like that one really, really powerful and rich church guy.
Not like, he don't think flaky,
I'm not thinking like who's the guy that had that really big church in Texas and during the flooding he didn't let anybody in.
Yeah, and I don't want to speak to that. And Joel Osteen.
That's like
and I don't want to
not like that guy.
Because, well, no, he wasn't. He's not that big. But think thousands and thousands of people. This guy's a sweet, good man. When you're around him,
I'm not comparing him to Joel as far as like his personality wise. I've got some opinions about Joel.
Yeah, and I have severe problems with his theology, which just doesn't match Christian doctrine in many cases. But anyway, this is a pastor that I really respect, really, really love, and he's a stud. And so anyway, he needed a pastoral protection team. But as I joined this team, I'm like casing the joint. I'm checking like 80-year-old women for jailhouse shivs, and just like I'm imagining all this different stuff. And I didn't understand the ROE either. Like, for instance, I didn't understand that you can get a church security team. If someone's being disruptive, we'll just put hands on and move them. I have certain solutions of how I dealt with that. I have certain techniques that will absolutely eliminate that problem. The problem is in a civilian context, it's called assault, and it's illegal. It's all illegal. And so I didn't know the laws and the stipulations. I had the skills, but I was a hammer, and everything was a nail.
I like that's a good way to put it in perspective.
And so what I need is military veterans. Yay, let's get them something that's protective, but we need some type of training. You can't just take a military guy and put him in now kill any active shooters. Well, yeah, but now they're looking for something to do, and every kid that's cut in class is a potential active shooter, and everything will be fine. It's good. I'm not.
You've been given a lot of problems with only one or two solutions.
The ROE, rules of engagement, are different between a military, civilian, law enforcement thing. The problems of a lot of times, you have verbal de-escalation stuff.
Well, there's even a big difference between civilian, contractor, and then you have like bounty hunter, and then you have police officer. Those are 4 completely different tiers that all pertain to different laws.
Right. So I'm just saying it's not okay to just take military veterans and say, hey, guns. Get around our children in schools. And it's not like vets would ever, they're not going to snap and go off on the kids. It's just, instead of them being hammers, I need them to get a little bit of training so that we can be scalpels. Meaning we'll have a little bit more finesse.
Precision.
And that's all I'm speaking to. So don't hear me that I don't want vets to have jobs protecting schools. I'm just saying, let's have a little bit of integration so they understand the laws, the change of ROE, and how to deal with different problems that students may possess. A student disobeys you and just won't do something.
Solution.
Won't listen to you.
Shoot him.
Solution, Hulk smash.
Hulk smash. Bang.
If like you can't touch a student. You can't do that anymore. So Anyway, just a little bit of training, and then you'd be good to go with veterans. So, but a turnkey solution, cops would get that right away.
Yeah.
Right away.
Well, it's because they're
extra
already
training.
introduced into the civilian lifestyle,
Right,
and
and so I'm just
they
saying,
understand law.
There's an adaptive
For the most part.
change. So pistol was new for me when I got out of the service. Of like, yeah, I was trained in pistol, but not nearly in the concealed
Well,
carry
because that was a
context.
sidearm for you. Your primary was what, an M4 or M16?
Yeah,
something
but
like that?
why in the world would I even carry a sidearm in Afghanistan?
Yeah.
What do you know, if I was working around vehicles, maybe, but really, I mean, like in a urban population where I need to stick a gun out of a window because I but there's a few applications.
Have you seen John Wick?
I have.
I want to talk about that in a second too.
Yeah,
but,
let's talk about it.
well, real quick, John, who does your RMR cuts?
This is a 19 MOS, Judd. So probably if I was going to have something cut and money wasn't really an issue, I'd go to Unity Tactical's. I think it's called their Unity Slide. No, yeah, Atom Slide by Unity Tactical. That thing is amazing, but it's expensive. I think it's real economical. Just get a Glock 19 MOS and then tag an RMR on there and make sure you get the right mounting brackets, or you're going to shoot, fly off, and it doesn't. You don't know why.
Yeah, I just buy a whole slide. That's what I would do. That it's already got it. Like, because there's people who cut that out for you.
Right. The MOS, what that means is it already comes cut out.
I would rather just do that.
Yeah, so it comes like that. So you don't have to mill a slide. It comes to you ready for a dot.
Yeah. But back on the...
before you buy a dot as well, check out my video. Sorry, shameless plug, but
No, dude,
listen.
plug away. What's
check
the video
out
called?
the video I did on red dots. I'm going to give you all the cons, and I'm going to give you all the pros. And it's judicious. I'm not trying to steer you one way or the other. I just want you to go into it with your eyes wide open so you don't have buyer's remorse, and you likely will. Check out that video before you buy. That's all. And I've got links below in the description so you get the right thing. All right, good.
So movies like John Wick.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a lot of tactical movies and shoot 'em ups and whatnot. And I know Keanu Reeves, who's my favorite actor, by the way, so feel free to talk shit about him. But he really is, like, I absolutely love anything that Keanu Reeves does. I eat it like ice cream.
Yeah.
Just because I think he's cool. He has his own motorcycle brand, etc. I could talk about him all day long. Keanu, if you're watching this, I want to meet you. But, you know, I like the John Wick movies because they're simple, mind-numbing action shoot 'em up. It's a very simple problem with a very simple solution. They killed my dog, I kill them. They steal my car, I kill them. They hit me, I kill them. It's very easy, and it's very easy. You have a very clear, these are bad guys and these are good guys, you know?
Yeah.
It's very simple. You know how you're talking
Is
about...
John Wick a good guy?
No, well...
You killed his dog and you burned down his house.
I would-
Which, dude, don't you have insurance? I mean, really? Was the house... You have insurance, right?
Well, you had to
And
think...
it's 140 people murdered for your insured house and new
No,
puppy?
it's the dog. It's the dog.
The dog is
Right.
worth 140
And the
souls?
car, don't remember they took the car too. That was a fastback Mustang, like a 65
An
and a
insured
puppy.
Mustang. You get a new one.
You think.
You get a new one.
He probably it was the John Wick ain't no bitch, all right?
John Wick was a horrible human being that deserved to die. That being said, I really enjoyed the movie, and I really liked John Wick.
It's funny because I remember when you
Is that
did,
okay?
No, because I remember you doing the review in the car.
Yeah.
After you saw the movie, you're like, I just saw it. I have to talk about it. You know,
It was great. I really liked the
You're like,
movie.
he shot 140 people for a dog, and I was like, yeah, that's it's reasonable. And you're like, that's not reasonable at all. I'm like, no,
That's a psychopath. Agree. That's a psychopath.
All right.
If someone killed your dog and you killed 140 people because of it,
right. Well,
you need to go to jail forever.
Here's the thing. He didn't want to kill those people.
Oh.
All right. They were hired to kill him.
His heart was in the right place.
He wanted to kill the guy that killed his dog and stole his car. Like, so,
Right.
So someone comes to your house, they beat you up, they kill your dog, they blow up your house. or
Great.
whatever.
So let's kill that one dude. But what
Right.
about the other 139? That
They
were
came at
collateral
him.
damage?
They came at him. Is he supposed to be like, hold on, I'm just after your boss? They're not going to let you do that.
Okay, then if you want to make the case,
I'm justifying
that
it.
100
Justified.
Great. So just to be clear, it was justified to kill the 140 people.
Because they killed his dog. You don't understand. They killed his dog.
You know, I'm. You're right. You got me.
Thank you.
You
No,
got
of
me.
course
He's
it's
right.
Of
He's
course
right.
it's 100%
Of course.
unreasonable to shoot 140 people because of a dog.
But yeah, and I get it.
I absolutely love my dog, and if someone were to hurt my dog, I would make sure that that was the last thing they did. But I'm not going to go on a killing spree, mostly because of my skills, but because I lack thereof. It's unreasonable. It's an unreasonable.
Well,
note.
yeah, and I know, but really, I'm not being like, oh no, I loved the movie. I thought it was great. I liked the first one. I liked the second one. And when I'm trying to watch something that's all a shoot 'em up tactical movie, I'm not being like, well, let me get my pencil and see how closely it identified. I'm like, don't be that nerd, dude. When I go see a movie, I'm not like trying to be the tactical spot checker, killjoy, dude. I want to just go veg out and enjoy a good movie. Where
he's sitting there watching the Avengers movie like, that's exactly what Thanos would say. Like writing notes.
Well, unfortunately, I'm getting close to that.
You're not far off.
I'm going full out nerd now in a bad way. We're gonna next podcast. We're gonna be doing a Dungeons and Dragons episode here as we can progressively get.
I've been wanting to do D&D online for a long time.
D&D. There's a shortened name for it.
Yeah, it's an acronym. Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah,
awesome.
Man.
Okay, well, I'm joining the nerd side more and more.
Well, I mean, I know Keanu knows how to shoot. He went through a 3-gun competition, which isn't tactical. It's a sport.
Yeah, and so when I watched the movie, I immediately knew the type of training he had.
Right,
he was trained by a competitive shooter.
Right.
And I actually was with Terran Tactical a few days ago. I've got pictures hanging out with him. So I met him. He's a good dude, and he's an amazing.
You met Keanu?
No, his trainer, Terran Tactical.
I was about to hate
and I
you.
also know Aaron Cowan, who also I think had a hand in that. So I know his trainers.
Yeah.
I know him personally.
They're
now.
great shots.
They're amazing,
incredible shooters.
Terran is a competitive shooter. That's his wheelhouse, and so the whole movie, Keanu Reeves was very skills based. It's skills, not tactics.
Right.
Tactician, he did a terrible, terrible job.
Oh yeah, if you even I know that the situations that he put himself in were awful.
There's one dude that did a good job, and that was the guy, his partner, who got on a rooftop with a long gun and just waited to take a shot.
That's
realistic. How you kill the one dude. That's good tactics win.
Yeah.
Bad tactics are walking into a warehouse, bare-fisting, beating everyone up to take your car.
Yeah. Of course.
You send him a Post-it note and like, dude, I'm gonna hurt everyone if you don't give me my car. And I bet they'll just roll it out to the curb for you. I'm going to kill everyone if you don't get my car. Remember the dog incident.
He probably could have been like, he could have probably just sent the dude an email like, hey, if you could just give me my car back, I won't kill everybody. And then he'd have been like, this is fair.
But still, this is fair.
Credits roll. He sends an email. He's like, we delivered a car. Credits roll.
Worst movie ever. Don't let John. So the movie was fun. It was really good. It was meant to, and I loved that they did such a good job displaying all the individual skills, which is frankly not in movies. So the trainers did a great job. Keanu Reeves.
He literally ran a 3-gun competition in John Wick 2.
He did.
He literally
awesome.
did. He set his shotgun aside and his rifle, and he went from point to point to point.
Yeah.
Like you would. It's funny because it's literally set up. He goes from pistol to shotgun to rifle. I think it's in that order. Or maybe it's pistol, rifle, shotgun, I think. Which, like you said, like the dumbest thing you can do in a situation would be to walk blindly into it and be like, I'm here. What's up, bitches? And let's start killing people like a frat dude with natty light walking in. What's up? I'm here to kill things.
But really, and as we say this stuff, it's really just more for fun. I'm not.
Yeah, of course you're not going in there. You're like,
I'm not saying the movie was great. I love the movie.
Cinematically, it was beautiful.
So the biggest problems I had was the bad guys didn't respond the way bad guys do. The bad guys don't fight like that. Never.
What do you mean? Break that down a little bit.
So if you heard gunshots downstairs and then somebody you knew was coming upstairs right now, where would you go? Would you stay right there? Would you stand in the middle of the room with a gun waiting? Or would you go to the corners? Would you get down low? Would you ambush them? Bad guys are ambush hunters. They don't line up, stack up one by one throughout the middle of the room waiting for a presentation as you come through. So the room clearing tactics were non-existent. He ran it like a competitive shooter would, which means you're going to walk into ambush after ambush after ambush. And if you survive, it's lots of skills, lots of luck every single time.
Everything is like rolling a dice.
And the faster skills can make up for tactical disadvantage, but tactics trump skills, bro. Tactics trump skills.
Well,
I don't want to be too hard on this because, like, what it was reminiscent of for me is when you watch some fight scenes with like kung fu masters. They're like just throwing these dudes all over the map. You've seen them on Instagram, right?
Of course.
But watch next time. Watch how the bad guys attack. So a lot of them, they do like an over-the-top chop.
Like the most-
And so I watched both of them. That's the only way they ever attack is run at you with an over-the-head chop. I remember that
Yes,
one.
this is an attack.
And I'm like, bad guys don't attack
What
like
is
that.
what is this gonna do? Well, it's like what I don't like, and this kind of goes back to that too. Like when I watch these hand-to-hand combat training videos where someone has like a knife, what's the way that people always
Yeah.
who knifes someone like this?
Yeah.
When has anyone ever knifed like this?
Well,
Like,
and if they do, a lot of people do knife like that. But what they'll do is by surprise, you won't actually know you're getting stabbed until maybe stab 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And they'll run you up against a wall or against an obstacle while they're just sewing machine hitting you
Right.
and holding you at link so you can't get it. But just a parry, jab, overextension.
Yeah, like-
you know, that, yeah.
I'm gonna come at you with a knife. How defeated? Yeah,
Or the martial arts where you come at me with one thing and I immediately like, where I have to do 5 moves for every one of your move.
exhausting.
Yeah. Anyway,
My buddy Ham, real quick. He says, "What's the closest movie to capture what a firefight?" I think. What's the closest movie to capture what a firefight time of war is like?
So you mentioned Black Hawk Down in 13 hours. I know some of the guys that were at Black Hawk Down.
The movie or the?
No, at the actual event.
Oh,
So,
okay.
Yeah, like so. For instance, one of them, Jeff Struker, was my chaplain in Ranger Battalion. He was there on the ground during the Somalia Black Hawk Down. So, and I don't know. Anyway, I just see the stuff, and I know a few of the Benghazi guys are friends. Chris Pronto's, newer friend. We were both at 2nd Ranger Battalion, so that's pretty cool.
That is very
And there, on my Instagram, I got Kyle Lamb, who was in Somalia, hold me in his arms like this, like a baby.
I saw that photo. I seen
That's
that
Kyle
photo.
Lamb. He was at Somalia. He was at Black Hawk. Yeah, Black Hawk
Holy
Down. He was
shit.
there. So anyway, just
That's really interesting.
anyway,
too.
I just when I see that stuff, I'm just reminded of like, yeah, I know the dudes that were there. These are real events, and so when people bring up the fact that it was a movie, well, it was an event, and then a movie was made out of that, and you're not. I'm sure Ham knows that, but I just, a lot of times we're like looking at the movies, and I'm like, no, these were real things.
Yeah.
Anyway, those were very, very, very good movies. 13 hours, when I watch a war movie, if I'm emotionally exhausted by the end, it was probably true to form. So Tears of the Sun was an epic, terrible. Holy cow, that was awful. Or like a movie SWAT. That was just, it just so...
Not those old Chinese ones. Is that what you're talking
So
about?
some war movies are so bad and so fictitious that it doesn't really, I don't emotionally go there. But when I watched 13 Hours, I smelled the burning trash, and it set my rage button. I felt the fear of like, so I went there. Let me see, the Ghost Soldiers one, it just came out. Horse Soldiers, or what was that? That one was really good. Black Hawk Down was amazing job.
Did they
as well.
consult your friends when they made that movie? I'm assuming they
Yes,
sat
yeah.
down and talked to them about everything.
Yes,
that happened.
and when they don't consult experts, the movie is trash. John Wick was really awesome because they consulted experts. They consulted, John Wick.
What do you mean? Are you talking? You're talking about like the 3-gun in the
Yeah,
shooting?
that's
Okay.
experts.
I thought you were talking about like the experts of the actual John Wick, and I was like, hold on.
No.
It's based on true story. Like,
No, I mean, John Wick, they
Yeah.
consulted experts
I know
for,
what I
meaning
mean.
he got really, really good firearms training and really good martial arts training.
Mm-hmm.
And then they incorporated that, and I think fans can tell the difference between, or at least it's based on a true story. Like,
Yeah.
nobody can actually fight like that. Martial arts fights don't look like that.
Well, yeah,
But
they're cinematic
the moves are real moves.
and muzzle flashes don't look like that either. Like muzzle flashes are much more petite, but they use cinematic muzzle flashes. They use
a grenade blows up a city block.
right, huge. I'm sure you've seen grenades go off. I watched one. And like the explosion's so lackluster. It's just like
Yeah.
But it's the mentions that the fragmentations. That's the scary part.
It's more
You can't
smoke than light.
Yeah.
And that's not as satisfying for folks. So those things, Band of Brothers, that whole series was really exhausting. Like I couldn't watch more than 1 or 2 episodes in a row before I had to really calm down. It'll emotionally exhaust me because in some respect I go there. Not that I've ever sat in the freezing foxholes of Bastogne. That was harder than, stuff that I did. Not that I didn't do really, really hard stuff. That was just the worst thing ever. So they have my utmost respect, those guys. But going gunfight's a gunfight's a gunfight. So anyway, we got another one.
Yeah, I'm glad that he brought this up. Mr. Greg, he says, what's your opinion on American Sniper and Chris Kyle himself? This is a touchy subject for a lot of people who've been in the military because from what I understand, you either love him or you hate him.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I think a lot of people hate the fame that he's gotten, but I mean the things that have come out of his death are pretty good. Like all the I hate to say it like that, but like all the awareness and the foundations that have been developed after his passing have been pretty helpful, right?
Yeah, I mean, here we have a soldier who killed a lot of bad guys trying to serve his country, and then when he got out, he was trying to help people that were at risk, giving of his own time and resources to help veterans that were troubled deal with PTSD. How do you not like that? What's the problem here?
I don't understand because there is a huge group of people who just don't. I think it's more or less the fact that everyone's pretty gung ho about him. It's like he's generally was a light guy. I think that's what people don't like. Is that it's like a mainstream type of deal.
Jealousy.
Yeah, jealousy.
Okay, well, get over it. Of like, hey, great job, Kyle. Rest in peace, man. You have my respect forever. Good job. And if there's skeletons anywhere, I get it.
I don't think
everyone has. Well, either way, of like, if that's what people are alluding to, of like, okay, yep, everyone's got them. I get it.
100%.
No sweat. Of like, yeah, I mean,
don't open my closet.
Yeah. Go Chris Kyle.
It's funny that he mentioned that movie though, because I was gonna bring that up. I couldn't finish it. No. I was so stressed out during the movie.
Wow.
Like it was like whether the movie was done good or bad, I have no idea. But I just remember watching it. I was watching it with Laura at the time. Actually, I was like, I can't finish this. I have to turn it off.
Wow.
Because it was like so stressful.
Yeah.
And kind of like the stress that I felt during the movie. What was the World War II movie where they were stuck on the island? I can't remember the name of it right now.
Was this a newer one?
Yeah, very recent.
Yeah, Dunkirk.
Yeah. That movie stressed me out.
Yeah.
The whole movie is fish in a barrel.
There's like 10 words in that movie.
Yeah. So it's like I felt
reviewed that one as well.
That same level of like stress watching that movie. I was like, dude, I can't finish this movie. It hurt to watch.
Yeah.
Not that it's a bad movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about how it was viewed in the eyes of people in the military, but just watching, I was like, holy shit, dude.
I thought they did an awesome job. I was pumped about it.
That's good.
It was cool.
That's good.
Like when he's running in the beginning and you can kind of, the camera's blurring stuff and bringing in his heartbeat as well. So, I mean, you feel like you're running. It did a real good job letting you feel the fear. And then something so human as the dude was just trying to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Of like, who would think to make a scene about that? I'm like, but no, that's legit. That's real. That's actually, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, that movie really, really stressed me out, and I couldn't finish it. I really want to finish watching it, but I just remember I was like, I need to breathe or something. Like I need to go sit down because it was hard to watch.
Sure.
And I've never felt like that with another movie, like to the point where I had to turn it off because of how it made me feel. But yeah, Honda says he was a great American. I saw part of his funeral convoy, and then Fractal says, "Are you friends with Don Shipley?"
I'm not friends with Don Shipley. I know of Don Shipley.
Who's Don Shipley?
I don't know. I just know the name.
Okay.
I can look it up if you want.
Okay, here we go.
James
Warrior Poet Society.
Let me look up.
Warrior Poet Society skin T-Rex arms and Kydex holsters would be cool. Should reach out to them. Also, where do you think the increased tension between U.S. and Israel and Iran / their terror organizations is leading? That's a really long-winded question.
Yeah, I'm probably going to pass on that, James, or the last part until I know a little bit more and can kind of. It's such a touchy subject that I'd rather do a video on it when I have a little bit more of my thoughts on it rather than just shooting from the hip on that. I want to do the subject justice is what I'm saying. T-Rex Arms. Lucas is a friend. I saw him at NRA. So the owner of T-Rex Arms. Good dude. Good shooter. This is not his holster. This is a different holster. This is a tier 1. And I do plan on getting it Warrior Poet wrapped. Or at least branded.
Yeah. That conversation got very heavy there for a second.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
it did get very heavy. On some lighter notes, we'll start to wrap things up here. Is there anything that you're working on right now that you're very excited to debut in the future here?
Man, we're doing a lot more of the same and just getting better at it. Our production quality is really up, and we're doing a lot more. We're just having more fun with the channel. We're having a fun time.
Yeah.
I mean, we're laughs, and I'm letting my full horrible dad dorky joke sense of humor just
out.
flourish, and
Just let it come out.
People absolutely love to hate it. Meaning they recognize, man, this guy has a crappy sense of humor. I can't wait to see what he'll do next.
I'm really to see some more stuff with that training simulation thing.
That
you got.
thing is cool.
How? Do you mind me asking how much that was?
No. So there's a video I did on it. It's the training simulator video. It starts at like $399, but $399. But to get all the add-ons, you can get software upgrades, and then you got to make sure you have a pistol that interacts with it, and then you have to have a projector and a computer. So if you already have computers, you're good to go. Do you have a projector? In which case, that's another $400, and then the gun may be, $100, $200, $300, depending on, and if you want all the software goodies upgraded, I mean, you could spend a couple grand. But even so, those simulators, which give you amazing training you can't get elsewhere, and it's like, dry fire times a million, cool stuff. Those are usually like 15, 20, 25 grand, but I've got all those links.
That's really expensive, but I mean, if you're using it for business, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, have you messed around with any VR whatsoever?
Yeah, a little bit.
Like, was it the phone or like the actual VR?
No, it was
I have a virtual shooting range. I would love for you to try.
I could try.
If you have time after this, I'd love for you to try.
Sure.
Just casual sit
Yeah,
down.
we'll do it. It'll be fun.
It's so
I had a
it's the
really
most
good
realistic.
one that had audio. You could literally turn 360 degrees.
You can walk around.
It
You
was
load the guns
interactive.
individually. You can load bullets in the magazines. Like
Holy
AKs, you have
cow.
to lock it and then cock it. It's so intuitive. You'll absolutely love it. And I can't
That's
wait
amazing.
I can't wait to see your opinion on that after that.
I have interacted with it, but very minimally, and that sounds really exciting.
Yeah,
That's cool.
In those guns, aren't they ones that have like the CO2 rigs, so it like simulates kind of recoil?
Yeah, and I don't really care much. So you have different shooting options. You can do the gas blowback or the airsoft whatever stuff and convert a barrel over, and I have that. The problem is if you're doing like lots and lots and lots of reps, the mags will get so cold from constantly refilling them. It's kind of annoying, so I'd rather just have some type of gun that's just a trigger shoots a IR laser, and that's it. That's what I prefer, and I have multiple different options for it. So the blowback's okay, but I mean it doesn't feel like real recoil.
I was gonna say it gives you the response without the actual power, I guess.
Right,
Like,
and my grip and foundation and platform, I can handle some pretty good recoil. So an airsoft pistol recoiling, it doesn't move my
it's like
sights.
not even-
There's no movement. It's not doing anything for me.
caliber.
9mm.
Blasphemy.
The world has
You don't-
gone 9mm.
If you don't
should
carry
go
a
that way, too.
45, you're not. Do you even have a penis? Give me your man card.
If you don't shoot a 45, you might as well not even.
It's because they don't
carry.
even make a 46.
You know, with a 45, you don't even have to hit them.
Yeah.
It just comes near them and take their
the-
head clean off.
The wind just rips their skin off.
Holy cow!
Entry wound this big, exit wound this big.
Yep.
It's like a cannonball.
Yep.
No,
but
I'm a
it's
huge.
not.
I carry only 9.
Yeah,
Except for
good.
I have a Glock that's in 40 cal, and I hate it. I absolutely hate 40.
Yep. If you can shoot a 45 well, you could shoot a 40 faster and more accurate, and you'd have more bullets. If you shoot a 40 well, you could shoot a 9 faster and more accurate, and you'd have way more bullets. And what puts people down is not the slightly bigger round. A 45 expands more than a 40. A 40 almost expands, has the same kind of damage path as a 9mm, almost, with the advances in modern, round technology of like these nasty bullets that expand. It's almost the same wound channeling that a 40 cal does, but you get all the other benefits as well. So really, everyone's going 9mm in droves.
I've always preferred 9 because of recoil and carry capacity.
Yep.
Cool. Well, I think that's a good topic to end on because you just agreed with me on something, and that's always nice. And is there anything else you want to say or plug or do before we shut down the stream?
No, this is fun. And if any of you soldiers stayed in
2 hours.
2 hours, you guys are a bunch of studs. Holy cow. Or you need to re-examine your priorities.
Yeah, whatever.
I don't know, but either way, you won my respect. I'm like, dude, that's a long time to watch in. So thanks for watching, guys.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it.
Again, all of his links for all of his stuff is in the description. His videos are absolutely phenomenal as far as quality and content. Like if you need to learn or figure out how to do stuff, like he's the guy, especially with any sort of firearms training.
Thanks.
So please check him out. His name's John Lovell, and he goes by the Warrior Poet Society on YouTube, Instagram, and do you do Twitter or anything like that?
I do Facebook. I really would like Facebook to grow, so follow me on Facebook, guys.
Okay, well follow him on Facebook too.
YouTube's the
I hate Twitter, so I don't Twitter.
Yeah,
I hate Twitter. But all right, guys. Well, thank you for watching. I'm gonna end the stream now, and then if you want to sing us out, sing a song, as like turn everything on.
How about an interpretive dance?
Yeah, let's do that.
With like the Happy Hands Club from Napoleon Dynamite.